All right, everybody, step right up. Come one, come all. Bring your kids, bring your wives, bring your pets, bring your grandparents, bring everybody you got. The NWA has the fans back in the building to witness a big event under the big top with the dusty finish living on in 2021. I'm John Renton with my review of NWA's Winter Shadows Fall pay-per-view, a potential match of the year candidate, one match that really wasn't all that good, and some other good stuff. And man, that finish, that main event was straight out of the Dusty Rhodes and Eddie Graham playbook. And well, it's going to be interesting to see how they follow up on that. Considering that they'll be taping a bunch of episodes of Power, I'm interested to see where they go with that storyline and a few others. This was a pretty good pay-per-view. I did enjoy the solid efforts from most of the wrestlers. There really wasn't a lot of bad. It was just under 2 hours. And boy, it seemed like a couple matches went a bit long where they had to cut that main event almost in half. Those are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. So send in the clowns with wrestling clips and everything and all the stuff under the big top. And I'm sorry I'm going to break out into that because the circus team was worked to fucking death. So fans in the studio for the first time in a while, that was really, really cool. Man, I overshot my voice too in that. But yeah, it was cool to hear fans back in the studios, not just production staff and everything. Fans are pretty fired up. Joe Galli, Tim Storm, Velvet Sky on commentary. I've been critical of Velvet Sky on commentary, and I can't say she was necessarily great here, but this is the most tolerable she's been. She's also a bit too quiet. And I don't know if that's just the audio equipment or what, but Tim Storm's knowledge that he, has of professional wrestling for the years he's wrestled, and, just the love he has for the NWA brand, old school wrestling, and just, the fact that they're presenting wrestling as it was meant to be in the studio to build up to big events. Tim Storm really just has that great, just classic, not even retired wrestler, but just, legendary wrestler that is put on commentary. And I love Tim Storm, love his stories, really, really good. Joe Galli, tremendous sports-based commentary. Man, he got really fucking fired up at one point. Anyway, Kyle Davis was in a freaking, circus big top suit, and I expected him to pull card tricks out of like his sleeves. It would have been really hilarious if he had done that. Anyway, Marsha Rocket and Slice Boogie versus The End. Odinson and Pero versus Sauronaro and Sam Rudo with Danny Deals versus La Rebellion, Mecha Wolf and Bestia 666. And I believe I saw Bestia 666 at one of the last indie shows I went to. Shit, really destroyed my voice there. But anyway, I saw him. He is really, really good. And this is NWA Lucha Libre rules. If your partner goes to the floor, somebody comes right on in. So everybody get in here and just have fun. And I will say there was some good stuff here, some good teamwork. This was fine. This is a good way to get people on the card. There were a couple points where I was like, okay, there's something a bit much here. I did like Sauronaro's Randy Savage WCW-inspired tights. That was really good stuff. He does get beat up for a bit. The pace was fine enough. Slice and Marsha Rocket played good cocky heels. The End just used power. Like Pero and Odinson are like looking like, let's just toss these guys around. Let's just do that. Okay. And that's what they did. Bruto did a, hey, catch me if you can dive. And then everybody dived. Marsha Rocket does the dive. Pero tosses Sal onto everybody. I'm not a big fan of the collection dives. Everybody just cluster together and, get caught on and catch somebody on a dive. It happens at indie shows. I think it's ridiculous. But, it is what it is. It's part of wrestling. You take it or leave it, and I can usually brush past it, so it was what it was. And then we get Total Rebellion for 3 on Marsha Rocket, so okay, La Rebellion get the victory. That's fine. You know what? I have a feeling La Rebellion will at least be part of this set of NWA Power tapings, and hopefully they, get a couple wins. This is good. Working relationships with multiple companies. Anyway, The End stare down the, La Rebellion. Maybe we get that match on Power. So, shit, really should stop doing these fancy intros. So, Tyrus with Grandpa Idol versus the Pope. So, Pope does a promo before, basically knocking Grandpa Idol and Tyrus for being really fat. He says there's, 3 of them, and Tyrus counts as 2. Yeah, we get it. And, of course, Tyrus, the Fox Aryan Nation guy, says fake news. Because, of course, he does. I'm going to keep my opinions of Tyrus besides that to the side and just say that as a wrestler, it's not good to see him do this because he was not good at all. It's a non-title, no-limit grudge match, and man, he knocks Pope's Love Alive charity that I'm not that familiar with, but good on Pope for doing that and using, sharing his passion and sharing his love and wanting to give back to the communities and help people out. That's good. Pope jumpstarts. Tyrus is washed. This is the one match that it sucked. It sucked. Pope was fine, but this should have been over in 6 minutes. This was one of the matches where I was like, this is going on way too goddamn long. The Tongan death grip that was done really, really badly. You can't do it like Ming. Nobody can do it like Ming. Ming terrifies me. He's about 62 years old. So we get, oh God, we get a low blow, Elijah Express, but then a loaded heart punch, and Tyrus gets a victory. Since it's non-titled, this feud continues. I don't know if anybody really wanted this feud to continue, and I understand you're working with the people that you have, but Tyrus needs to go away. Just not be in wrestling. Age is just a number. Father Time does catch up with you at some point, but seriously, conditioning, everything, he has gotten worse. This was not good. This was not good at all. This was a bad match. Pope did the best he could. And Idol just looks totally lost out there. Pope got helped out. And things pick up with Thunder Rosa and Melina versus Kylie Rae and Taryn Terrell. Kylie Rae is back in wrestling. She's had a couple spells where she's retired from wrestling because she has issues that she's working on. Her mental health and stuff like that and just burnout. As long as Kylie Rae is happy and in the best mind for her to carry on her career, but have the best life, that's what matters the most. Had this been Thunder Rosa versus Kylie Rae, it probably would have been a whole lot better. Melina, bless her, she ain't a legend in women's wrestling, but she can work, but she's past her prime now, and she was really struggling to do some stuff here. Even though she was trying. Taryn Terrell, far removed from that feud with Gail Kim, that great series of matches she had in 2013, and even a couple of the matches she had once she came back from her pregnancy, like a couple years later. When Thunder Rosa and Kylie Rae were in the ring, it was fine. Taryn Terrell, not so good. Melina, no, it wasn't that great. But I did like how Kylie Rae was less smiley and more killy Rae, if you will. And she was all upset. Rosa and Rae did some really nice submission exchanges and nice strikes and all that. Rosa got tagged in, goes absolutely nuts. Drop kicks in the corner, drop kicks in the spotlight, losing my religion. Rosa slammed Taryn on the floor and then carried her to the back. And then we get a sudden roll-up, the most devastating maneuver in all of professional wrestling. Surprise roll-up with the tights, 1, 2, 3. Kylie Rae gets a victory. All right. Hey, at least we had Thunder Rosa and carry Taryn Terrell back there. It wasn't the best use of Thunder Rosa, but I like to see a Thunder Rosa Kylie Rae singles program. They could have a good series of matches to determine who would face off against Camille. Give them a best of 5 series on Power. Why not? Give them best of 5, 10 minutes, 10-minute time limit. They could go nuts. They could do some good stuff. Hell, 15 minutes. Why not? I mean, extend the running time of Power and have them do some good stuff there. JTG, that is, easy for me to say, versus Fred Rosser. Cool. A taping of WWE Superstars and Main Event got slammed into this. I kid. These guys are far removed from WWE. Have been doing some good stuff. JTG, I feel so bad for him losing his tag team partner and friend of his, Shad Gaspard, last year. And Fred Rosser has been doing really, really good stuff since leaving WWE a number of years ago. He's been doing good in New Japan Strong and other areas, or, other territories. And JTG was more heelish, even after the show Respect and all that. Pace was fine. Rosser did get nice body scissors. There was a good, good slam, like winding slam. I don't know what that was by JTG. We get backslide counters, kick, punch, it's all in the mind. I'm going to kick you right from behind, boom. And then it basically is trying to grab his hair. They're trying to do everything they can to struggle with this. And then inside cradle, 1, 2, 3, JTG gets the victory. Okay. Wasn't a bad match. It certainly picked the pace up. And then we get Kratos and Stevens versus the War Kings, Jack Stane and Crimson, versus Thomas Latimer and Chris Adonis. That was called Chris Masters at one point in this 3-way NWA tag title match. So, would Kratos and Stevens be able to retain, because they haven't gotten along at all? This is the one match where I felt if they had cut a couple minutes off, it wouldn't have been. And I know it seems kind of weird, but it just seems like the main event suffered because a couple matches went on longer than they needed to. Like that Tyrus Pope match did not need to go on as long as it did. But anyway, this one had a good pace because it was 3 guys in the ring at once, so you got some good unlikely alliances and referee distractions and all that, and you got good stuff, don't get me wrong. There was some good action here. But then it just kept going, and it kept going. And I got what they were trying to do, but it got a little bit muddled. but there were more positives than negatives here. And then we get a move breakup. Stevens got targeted a lot. Earlier, Kratos got his leg bashed into the steel steps, sandwiched between the steps and the ring, and got that crushed. So he was selling that. Kratos is yelling encouragement at Stevens. Eventually, he runs in, tries to use a tag title belt, and then when the referee takes that away, even though it's a three-way, so there should be no disqualification, or if he hits him with it, then they win the belts. Is that how we're doing this? Anyway, he hits the low blow on Crimson, and Stevens covers him 1, 2, 3. So they retain. I was a bit surprised. I figured they might have, pulled the trigger on splitting him and maybe giving it to the War Kings or having Strictly Business walk out with all the gold. I'm not upset. I'm interested to see where they go, but are we going to have it now where Stevens is going to go more to the dark side? Or Kratos is just doing this to eventually betray his partner and they do a singles program? Hey, at least it's something intriguing. And then we get Camille versus Serena Deeb, NWA Women's Championship. That's not sarcastic. This match is fan-fucking-tastic. This is really great. The best match on the show, easily. Easily. These ladies killed it. Serena Deeb coming back from a knee injury, and Camille, they built her up right, even with the long layoff. They've been doing some good stuff here. Sure, the Thunder Rosa Camille time limit thing might have been a little bit dodgy, and I think the stipulations were a bit much, but the time limit, the match was really, really good. This, because it had a decision, I will say it was just a little bit better, but Thunder Rosa is still, my favorite women's wrestler out there today. One of my favorite wrestlers, period. I'd say number 2 in all honesty. Or maybe even number 1. Hard to tell. Who's your favorites? Let me know in the comments. So, power versus technique. Whenever Camille was on her feet, she was able to keep Deeb down. So Deeb kept attacking the knee after being clubbed for a while, and then dragon screw in the ropes, kept doing some good stuff. Neck breaker on the ropes. We get the stretch, that gets countered. We get a spear, that gets countered. Deeb talk gets countered. That's her face buster. And then we get a single crab that, to the ropes. And then we get a single crab by Camille. We get that to the ropes. So these ladies are doing counter for counter, and Camille kept selling the knee, but eventually hit like the roll. The rolling senton. I don't remember what they called it, and they got a spear for 3 and new well protected spear 1, 2, 3, and Camille is the new NWA Women's Champion. Now this is good. You could have Thunder Rosa and Kylie Ray do a best of 5, something like that, and build up to who faces Camille. Make Camille like the pinnacle, big target and stuff like that. She can face people and beat them up and everything. You can keep bringing women in. You build to something like that. And then Thunder Rosa can lose to her, and then you could have Kylie Ray slot, and you could do some stuff here. There's something they could do with the women's division. Did like Joe Galli's call from the penthouse to the brick house. That's good shit. Really good shit. I like Joe Galli. Anyway, good stuff. Camille and Serena Deeb did really good stuff here. So, Nick Aldis versus Trevor Murdoch, NWA title jumpstart. Which Harley Race student will reign supreme? Well, Trevor was fired up. Aldis shoves the referee early on, trying to get DQ'd, and then he takes over, beating up on Trevor. Trevor will not quit, hits the clothesline. Diving Bulldog for 2. Latimer comes out with a chair. The referee's distracted, and then, gets laid out with a chair that Aldis clearly hits him with. Joe Galli goes absolutely nuclear, like somebody just flash fried, either flash fried a dish too fast right in front of him, or too bad, or something really drastic happened right in front of him. I mean, I'm not going to get too detailed here, but it's like something just so dramatic, so ungodly happened in front of him. Like it's the worst thing he's ever seen. So good on him for selling like, wrestling commentators should. And he was just yelling and yelling. I mean, it was insane. And then we get a missed elbow from Aldis because it looks like he was going to get the victory. Murdoch with a chair shot. Cloverleaf. Referee comes to and Aldis is tapping. And Murdoch thinks it's him. Nope. Referee calls for a DQ. Joe is still upset. I mean, he is almost turning beet red. Man, that tie. It was so funny seeing him get angry. He had that clown tie on. And then Murdoch calls out the BS. The crowd's chanting bullshit. And he's like, what else do I have to do? He thanks fans, that kind of stuff. Obviously going to build to Murdoch eventually winning the championship. But here's my question. When do you do another pay-per-view? Do you do it in August? Do you stretch this out until September? Like, they only do, they do select episodes of Power and then they take a break with the episode of Superpower or Power Surge or stuff like that. They do sometimes do package shows. You can stretch this out a bit, but I don't know how much longer you can stretch this out. Yeah, sure, it's not quick. They're building story. But this is at a crossroads here. It wasn't a bad pay-per-view at all. The women's match to me was the match of the show. And there's some good storytelling coming out of that main event. But we'll have to see what happens. Overall, I'm definitely glad I spent the $20. Well worth it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.